In substance treatment planning, Lindsay, for this case, is a 31 Native American woman who is pregnant. She does live in a rural area in Arizona. She has a severe stimulant use disorder with crystal methamphetamine. So for the last 5 years, she struggled with her use and has only been able to stay clean while she's pregnant. So she's seeking long-term services in preventive care for her long-term sobriety, and this is after multiple attempts with her past pregnancies to stay sober. I chose this because the implications for pregnant women who have a history of substance use, they need support for treatment. And that should continue even if they are pregnant. So some challenges that women face while seeking support for substance planning is the exposure to stigma for their pregnancy and their substance use issue. Criminalization or report of child abuse for seeking support for pregnancy with a history of substance use or substance use disorder. A lack of oversight for continued support for women needing services. And this issue really has an effect because it puts more of the population who are pregnant and have a substance use disorder and prevents them from seeking medical support early in pregnancy or at all. So that creates a barrier for their treatment for their substance and for their pregnancy, and that can risk exposure for their children and create more health risks for the mother. So intervention and treatment planning for substance use. So substance use itself, I learned more about the treatment planning that involved for people who have a substance use disorder. Some of these things are more based in motivational therapeutic interventions. Part of that is motivational interviewing and counseling. So we really have to solidify our commitment and let this client know that we are engaging them and we're committed to their change as they are. And what we do is commit the client with their change and their goals. So it involves a heavy impact in the building a rapport and a relationship with your clients. A 12-step facilitation treatment, that would be AA, Narcotics Anonymous. 12-step programs are really structurally sound, and they involve positive reinforcement, social planning, which means that they have positive social enforcement with people around them, and also support long-term with people who can intervene or they can turn to for support. Another part is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and behavioral family therapy, BFT. That's part of the social learning that promotes the reinforcement of positive behaviors and support networks. So that's also part of the foundation for the motivation part and the commitment that the client shows to reinforce positive behaviors. And a lot of this is connecting the client to really supportive social bonds, because responsible behaviors and support treatment for long-term sobriety have a really on their choices, and it really responds with building their coping skills, but also implementing a support plan that they have intact, so a contingency plan, if you would. A few facts here, like parents with use disorder report 49% greater odds of incurring stigma compared to non-parenting people with substance use disorder. Excuse me. So both sex and gender-specific issues affect women's health, and women may differ from men in disease expression, reaction to medication, and care management plans. Implications and recommendations. Some of the things that I learned about when supporting women who are actually attempting to be more healthy with their pregnancy, there are some methods that we can change or improve to support these women who are facing a lot of what if situations or some negative reinforcement about their history of substance use in their pregnancy. Part of which I learned that a lot of women are motivated to stay clean or reduce their use when they're pregnant. And so the screening methods that really come into play when women go in for treatment for their pregnancy, for medical interventions, for support there, really processes and it directly impacts the needs of a pregnant person who needs prenatal care. First of all, early screening for a substance use disorder can impact the exposure to substances and reduce the risk to the child, which is something that is really important for overall care. Training for the right demographic to boost impact of a screening tool. What I really want to clarify right there is that we need to understand how we speak to somebody. This stigmatization of our ideas of what a pregnant woman should be. I think we should just promote the care of a person and use inclusive language. That means not using terminology that might negatively describe a person with substance use disorder or a history of substance use disorder. Let's see. So self-disclosure, bias versus curiosity, that goes back into how we address how we talk to people or ask about their history of substance use disorder. A lot of women are more willing to disclose during their pregnancies. But using the right language will open up more of a curiosity type of screening process so that they can elaborate further in best care. If we use biased language or ideas from healthcare or medical care workers, that could close off future relationships that might promote for better health for the mother and the child. And different states carry different laws that might affect how we interact with women who are pregnant and have a history or currently have a substance use disorder. Some states, they impose a mandatory reporting of children who are born with substances to child welfare services and can result in police getting involved, law enforcement getting involved, and that can result in the child being removed from the home or charges for the parents. And part of that is the risk versus the benefit overall of the screening process in the game. So research impact and future practices. I want to be a parenting advocate for tribal communities. Some of the training that involves that I need to understand is the full effectiveness and evidence-based practices involved in substance use treatment and planning, CBT and DBT training, crisis intervention, and working with cultural humility, because I will be working as an advocate within tribal communities. That being said, tribal communities, parents who have a history of substance use is the population I will be working with. Court-ordered clients, so families from Child Protective Services or family court orders, and also tribal court systems. within the community I will be working with, I will need to know resources available for treatment on or close to rural tribal communities, and understand the tribal laws and federal laws, because tribal laws do work within federal jurisdiction. Some of the policies that we can research and do have a future impact on practice, if we do, is the criminalization of substance use during pregnancy. Like I said, the risk and benefits. Refining screening tools for preventive care. More research on the impact of the care of pregnant women with a history or currently have a substance use disorder, and the bias that may come with it. Gaining understanding of client needs. What did I gain from that is the substance treat planning, an evidence-based motivational approach for preparing a client for care during and after pregnancy while having a history of substance use disorder or currently planning for the prevention of some effects of the substance use disorder. Like Lindsay's case, she wants long-term preventive care because she's able to maintain her sobriety through her pregnancy. She just has trouble maintaining her sobriety afterwards. So she has no problem caring for herself and her child. She's highly motivated, and planning that while she's pregnant is something that is important to her. And that's what we want, is more women coming forth for long-term treatment planning after their pregnancy. Social values, so dignity and worth of a person. Every person, no matter what state they are, bodily, mentally, they all share the value of being dignified care. Their worth being understood, and they shouldn't be treated by the diagnosis that they have. We should plan for the diagnosis that they have. But the importance of human relationships, a lot of treatment for substance use, I learned, is based on how important human relationship support systems are in social theories. Social justice, it really came up to the terms of what is most beneficial for these families and for the individual, and each individual of these family units. Are they being broken up prematurely, or are we examining what we can do for interventions with them? Also, I wanted to include unbiased support, social biases, real impact on interventions. How are we guiding the long-term success, providing clients with the resources and supports in navigating challenges that may arise? That's like the first part of I learned about substance use treatment planning, is that the rapport and the relationship that you have with these clients, specifically who are going for substance treatment planning, is just really impactful for how well they stick to the goals that they set for themselves, and what my paper and my presentation is about. There's the references, and thank you very much.